Hello, am I audible? Yes. Hi, good afternoon everybody. I think post such session is always going to be very difficult, especially for a panel discussion, but thankfully I have two speakers, very interesting guys. Thanks for keeping all of us alive and awake. Thank you so much. Okay, without spending too much of time, I would request my co-panelists to quickly introduce themselves. Yeah, Rajsekhara.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Raj. I am here from Apollo Tyres. I lead their supply chain for Asia Pacific, Middle East, Africa. Prior to this, I have worked with multiple other industries in cosmetics, FMCG, beverages, and pharmaceutical, as you said, 6 months back. Happy to be here. Nice to see so many people gathering in one room. Thanks to the 3 years break what we all had.
Thank you.
So hi, good evening everybody. Myself Mayur Chhabra. I am head of logistics and planning for JK White Cement in the paints business. And prior to this field into manufacturing, I have throughout worked into supply chain into FMCG, working with companies like Nestle, Unilever, Britannia, Coca-Cola, and my last time was with Del Monte. So happy to be part of this very interesting panel, and hopefully we'll be keeping up to the mark, up to the expectations here.
Good afternoon all. This is Anirban from Century Ply. I am heading the supply chain and national logistics for Century Ply. Prior to Century Ply, I was with Reddy for a couple of years, then ITC, Levers. Love to be learn and let learn session.
Hello, good evening everyone. My name is Vikrant Tyagi and I am part of Schneider Electric, and in industry I have a total 26 years of experience and 12 years with Schneider. So I am here to share some of the insight what we are doing in Schneider, and I am here happy to answer your question.
Hi, good afternoon everyone. My name is Shonik Goyal and I represent Sleepwell, Sheela Foam Limited. I am the president of supply chain there. And about 2 decades into the industry, across telecom, across FMCG, and now, home comforting industry. So, always nice to have face-to-face sessions, always nice to have face-to-face interactions. And I hope, we will be able to answer some of the critical questions with respect to where exactly our parcel lies whenever we order something, right? So looking forward to an insightful discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, my co-panelists. I think it's a very elite panel that I have. And since morning, I think we had quite a few discussions and we did touch upon lovely subjects. I think starting from how India can become top 25, top 10 in the globe in NPI, and then touched upon intelligent supply chains. I think quite a few things. Just to set the context, a very recent episode of Parcel, I think which has been doing rounds globally. There was a radioactive packet which got lost in Australia, and people were trying to find where is this small packet. When it comes of packet, people think of a package like the way Amazon or a Flipkart package that we get at home. Incidentally, this was just the size of a button, and people are trying to trace out this radioactive packet. Thankfully, we got it back somewhere in the deserts of Australia. So that's the context of this topic that we have. What is it that we as supply chain professionals have seen a change in the way a package is getting delivered? Now this could be as small as a button, as I'm talking about, to as large as a shipment of maybe a rake of cement being delivered to the customer. So what's the change that you're seeing, and what is technology going to do with that? And where do we see this going further as we climb the ranks in the LPI? So starting with our elite panelists, Mayur, what do you think is the typical customer behavior changes that happened in the last couple of years, and how do we see that really changing the scenario?
So I think it's a very interesting question, because whatever we've seen over the last 1 decade, if you see the customer demand, the customer behavior has changed a lot. I remember my early days of 2002 when I started my career, and we were all called shipping department because the only motive which we have was to ship and just keep dispatching. However, we've seen the evolution from where your godown to a warehouse to a distribution center, and now we are also looking at a hub and spoke model of distributions and other ways around. But in terms of the customer behavior, as must tell you now, we've seen that when we talk about customer, it can be your end consumer, your last mile, your distributor in the business, or even your retailer. So there are changes in all legs of the eco chain. Okay, if you see, your distributors are not now ready to store a lot of material on your behalf. So that's where company has to do a hub and spoke model where you have to become closer to customer. You keep on opening new warehouses, and that's again a debate whether you have so many warehouses, whether you don't have. But then again, it depends on your commodity and whatever supply you have. So coming back to my current industry where I work currently, when I joined 2 years back, we were having 75 warehouses in the country. And as on date, we've got 140 warehouses. And the motive was because we were getting stiff competition from paint companies and other manufacturing units. So how do I have a niche or something which is a lowest cost supplies? So we started doing that, and we found that where we should be present even in the hinterlands. Okay. And then how do I reduce my TAT? So it all started with the opening of the new warehouses. We registered almost 18-20 terminals in the country because we use them as our hub, railway terminals. Okay. And then starting from there, we started delivery. We reduced the tax, we reduced the MOQs, and it all started. Even if when I talk about the rake supplies and all, and when we're talking about the tracing of the parcel, this is a very interesting thing because when you supply your material from railways, and I was very new to this industry, and something I was getting amazed because sometimes it happens that railways does not even update your site. They site for say 6 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, and then you have got no clue about the whereabouts of your material, and you are just struggling on your month and days and all. So we did a very interesting sort of a project. It continued for 6 months, wherein we did a tied up with a US-based firm. Okay. And we started using portable devices for railway tracking. So we used to stick that device on the rake, and we used to get some sort of rewards. But again, there was a challenge that it was a battery-enabled device, and when there is a long lead time, sometimes 7 days, 10 days, and sometimes your goods can even stop en route. So you have 10 days, 15 days, your battery goes for a toss. It died. You have no visibility of your route mapping and all. So we started, gave it a try, and after 6 months we came up with a solar device, which are solar propelled device, and you have all sort of stuff. So this is how something, and this became a very hit idea for us, because now when we talk about this segment, we have got complete tracking of our parcel even in the railways. So we can track the entire rake, moving it, from which station is going, how much is the halt, as per the Google, what is the ATA, as per my railway, what is the ATA. If there's a halt for say some time, I get an alert. So this is something which we have done, and that's how things have been going for us.
Thanks for your insights into your industry. Shonik, from your perspective, it's a very different industry here in a B2B sector. And how do you see the customers really changing over with respect to the expectations over the last couple of years or decades?
Yeah, so I think post the COVID, post the pandemic, I think the customer has become impatient. So everybody wants everything as on yesterday. Nobody is willing to wait. So I think that is where there is a lot of pressure on the supply chain professionals. Yes, Mayur talked about hub and spoke. Maybe that is the way forward, I don't know. But good part about the government policies and the national logistics policy is that today the road infrastructure across the country is coming up leaps and bounces. There are expressways being constructed in some of the darkest corners of the country. I mean, 10-15 years back, who would travel from Gurgaon to Sona? Today it's a beautiful expressway. From Rajiv Chowk, you take about 15 minutes to reach Sona. Similarly, some of the darker corners of Uttar Pradesh, you have expressways coming up. You have expressways coming up across the country, which is reducing the distance. So you can have centralized manufacturing. You can probably have, centralized warehousing, and then utilize your logistics to efficiently deliver to the customer. So I think the first and foremost is customers become impatient. Customer has become more demanding. Everybody needs to understand. Everybody needs to know the status of the shipment. That's very, very important. That's very, very critical, right? So I think these are two fundamental shifts that customer behavior has undergone post the pandemic?
Thanks, Shonik. I think, yeah, very interestingly, I think it's also got to do with the fact that our country itself is very young, and the impatience levels are definitely higher, quite naturally. But to address this, I think a lot of paths have been shown in technology, the way it can be handled by many of the e-commerce guys. But I would like to really understand from our traditional industries, Vikrant, right from the ordering to the material delivery to the customer, what kind of different technologies are prevalent which are used even in our traditional industries? It's just not about e-commerce, right? So just like to get an insight from your side.
Okay, I think it's a good question, Mohan. So I will share some live examples with you. We have started our journey digitally, achieve the manufacturing order, then the customer have a visibility at which stage the product is. After that, when we have hand over a customer, the material to our carrier, our partners, so he is having the full visibility, and later on he is having a tracking through the customer portal where the material is, whether it is moved the transporter hub or not. And I will tell you, these are the certain steps where customer expect a lot from us. And I will say this is must do for the customers. And apart from that, there are a lot of value addition people have done into their system, that they are giving the e-invoice or they are giving the PDF invoice, everything they are giving to the customer. Yes, it is the right of the customer to get it, but the customer is more fussy about that because they know that when the material is handed over to transporter, instead of 4 days, they will get it in 5 days. And they can, because now all the, I will say the parcel companies or the transporters in India, they have a very good robust network where they are giving the facility of track and trace to the customer. So this is, and apart from that, what we do when we make our all this kind of strategy, after every delivery in a year, we do almost 260,000 deliveries to our customer. Every delivery to our customer is followed by a customer satisfaction survey. There are 6-7 parameters on which the customer have to rate, and monthly we are evaluating the score. We are seeing where we are dropping and where we are improving. On the basis of that, we are making twists in our strategy. So these are the certain steps what we are following for our customer.
Wonderful. That I think is a more of an in-house technology development by Schneider. That's quite interesting because I think in today's scenario I've seen a number of startups who have actually got a very pinpointed services towards track and trace, towards indenting services, towards ordering services and planning services. So I think there is a array of service providers who are there in this country and also mushrooming many more of them. So Rajsekhara, in terms of planning especially, since that's a very critical piece of the entire supply chain other than the delivery piece. So are there advances that you've seen over the last probably 10 to 5 years or so, which actually kind of steps up the way we deliver to customer, and also keeping in mind the fact that earlier the customers were buying in bulk, but you also have a D2C at the moment coming in picture. So how do you see that really changing in terms of the technology?
In terms of, I just want to take a step back, right? Today, the boundaries between you as a customer and you as a buyer in your organization have blurred. We all work from home. We are ordering on Amazon. We are expecting a delivery. At the same time, we are ordering something from another supplier of ours. We have the same expectation, and that has now transcended the boundaries. Guy who expects, who was not even knowing what to expect 4 years back when, is now expecting everything. Right? Okay. What e-commerce has done is feed into that, right? They have added fuel to the fire and made our lives miserable, right? Which is like, what we are trying to figure out, right, is what is it that the customer places more value on? Is he placing value on product availability, meaning I want every product available? Is he placing value on visibility, where my parcel is lying, where my product is lying? Or is he placing value on the fastest turnaround, right? So those are the fundamental questions what we are trying to answer. Now, we all have to try and find a way to answer those things, right? For example, I mean, we also have got 150 locations where we service from. But when I talk to a customer, he says, I want my top 10 products, I don't care. Okay. Okay, fine, I'll give you top 10, but tomorrow morning he wakes up and says, no, I'm getting the delivery after 3 hours, but on Instamart I get it 15 minutes. Why can't I get it, right? So those are the things, fundamental questions what you have to answer. Planning system in the end has got only 4 or 5 elements which define, right? You've got stocks, you've got forecasts, you've got orders, you've got delivery lead times, right? The planning system can deliver whatever you want. It's a matter of cost, it's a matter of resources that you put behind and the time, right? But we have to understand what does the customer really want, okay, which is what I'm still trying to figure out, frankly speaking, okay, moving from industry to industry. But I think the planning systems, there are various levels, right? I mean, there are things which are very agile, there are things which are super rigid, like for example, the APO or even the IBP of SAP, or something which is, I mean, there are so many tools today. If you look at the Gartner's matrix, you find things which are very agile, not big, are happy to deal with whatever challenge you throw at them, right? So more and more, I mean, I'm leading to believe that a small agile solution would be more pertinent in the kind of situation where we are in currently, because the ground rules are not yet laid. Okay. We do not know what the customer wants, how it would look like 2 years down the line. If you had asked somebody 4 years down the line, what does the customer expect? He would probably say, I want all the products. Are you willing to wait? Okay, I can keep stocks. But it's changing very fast. We don't know where it will settle down, right? So which is the reason why I am seeing that the mushrooming of small players will help us to do all transformation, all changes in the system, modify, customize it as we need. That's where I would personally drift as well as this.
Thanks. I think the drift here is basically being agile and how fast can I deliver to my customer, and variety, that's the typical drift. So looking at this whole drift around technology and how being agile, Anirban, from a perspective of technology versus cost, I think one of the points which came up, I think, in the initial today was that while there's an adoption of technology, there's also a cost associated with that. So would you think that, as we keep adopting new technology in our, our planning and servicing, the cost becomes a big parameter for us to adopt as an industry, as a supply chain professionals?
We are in the month of February, so if like most of us going to April to March calendar, and I think once we finish this session, we'll go back to our chair and we'll going to calculate that what is going to be AOB perhaps. So in that, this game of cost and service always plays a role. So I think I'll pick what is said, that stick with the fundamentals, that what exactly we are looking at, and to understand that what is customer need, because every industry's need will be different. And if we try to copy others' industry rather than having an insight of our industry, then we may end up in a wrong cost parameter to achieve a service level which may not be desired in my industry. So I'll just give an example what we have done recently, that we run a program of VOC, voice of customer. So we made approximately 400 of our top customers in person, along with sales and supply chain team, and we try to figure out that what is their need. See, for example, if you are looking for a designer suit, do you really think that you are looking for a 10-minute delivery? Perhaps not. So that choice of time is depending on the product and the customer base which we are in. So then, once we have a clear understanding of that, what is my customer is looking for, is it the speedy delivery or is it the perfect delivery, or what exactly is the need, then we need to fix up the service level, and then we need to find out that what is the technology we need to adopt. And again, technology, the biggest challenge for us, when I was in a lunch session, I was meeting a couple of you, I'm trying to understand what technology is the best for me. So there are a lot. So what is good to have and what is must to have, to differentiate between these two, and then to pick and choose and implement one at a time. So many a times what happens, in an aspiration of being digitally educated and to get everything in one go, we get into multiple projects rather than reaping the benefit of one project at a time. So this is the way for us to really see that what is the need of the customer, then to find out that what is the must-to-have technologies out there, and then you put that as a cost parameter, and obviously that contributes into your ROI, return of investment.
The reason that I kind of dwell upon this is the fact that, well, I don't.
Yeah, so I want to just add few points. I think when we talk about planning, I think planning is the fulcrum of supply chain, because That's where the production part of it and the customer service part of it comes in. I think gone are those days when we had a monthly SNOP kind of a cycle. Today it is more of a weekly SNOP, right? I think the planner and or the centralized planning team needs to be very, very agile, because inventory, COVID has taught us that while for first few months inventory was supposed to be, people who held inventory were were gods, but on the whole, the inventory is now being treated as a cost, right? So inventory has to be lean. Now my experience after working for FMCG for about 10 years and now coming into home furnishing has been that while a lot of customized mattress sizes we would produce in our factories, we would get the order in the morning, we would produce by the evening, ship it out. Next day the customer gets delivery. The problem lies in the customized mattresses, right? I mean, where there are specific sizes. For example, West, Bombay, Gujarat, you always have, you don't get standard sizes of mattresses. You always have customized sizes, right? Because room sizes are different, smaller mattresses. That's where the problem lies. How do you extrapolate that? Because you really don't know. You produced a mattress size, suddenly every day you're getting a demand for that particular size, then maybe after a week you don't get a demand. You produce it, it's lying as a dead inventory with your factory or with your distributor. How do you extrapolate that? So I would again, reinforce what my fellow colleagues have said, that you got to understand what your customer needs. You got to understand your strength. You can't go for, blowing the trumpet of digitalization or anything, but at the end of the day, you need to know your product. You need to understand what your customer wants. Because in a mattress industry, even if you miss the desired size by 1 inch, it's dead. It's dead for your customer. And your customer will not come back. He will not order your mattress again. Because with that 1 inch extra mattress or 1 inch smaller mattress, it's a complete waste.
So I kind of resonate with that, because I did order some days back a mattress which came, I think, small. It had to be given back.
Hope it was not Sleepwell.
I know it wasn't. So just to add on, planning is important. The customer is changing. The variety is changing. The impatience levels is going up. And I must say, I have a fantastic panel out here, and not one of them is from e-commerce, so I can ask this question very, no, not about that. But they have shown a different way and methodology. So what's really happening is people are going from a traditional distribution and route to market to multiple omnichannel markets. Yeah, and I think the government also is recognizing this by trying to enter into a platformization of this delivery through ONDC, which is Open Network for Digital Commerce. So would you think, Rajsekhara, that this is something which can be utilized for traditional industries like what we have here for direct delivery to customers?
Yeah, it will be. I mean, more you think of it, right? It will become omnichannel, omnipresent, because in the end, the customer doesn't care, right? He's asking, he doesn't know the difference between a toothpaste being delivered or versus a mattress being delivered. He doesn't really care, right? He wants both in 15 minutes. How do you do it? Okay, which is where we all together have to find a solution. Okay, how this works, because frankly speaking, we are all stuck in the old ways of thinking. We all work with, like, for example, our colleague was talking about it, I was thinking in the back of my head, well, you have voluminous products, I have the voluminous products, can we collaborate? Right? Is there a way somebody else, a transportation company or somebody else would help put small units, consolidate them and bring them together where the delivery is done faster? For example, taking on the example of Agarwal, right, where they give you 1 meter cube box. Can I do that? Can I put on a 50-meter trailer which can move across the country to country, across the country, state to state, and keep delivering these 1 meter cube boxes point to point without the hassle of unloading, putting them in a warehouse, loading, and then losing 1 day every time it does, right? Or somebody can help me to walk away from the fact or solve the problem of I have got a plant in, say, Chennai, it has to go to Ambala. How can it go in the fastest route, right, in the cheapest possible way? That's where the connectivity has to happen, right? Today, transporters don't have to wait for service providers, they don't speak to the coastal carriers. Every time you talk, everybody's like, okay, fine, I'm a trained service provider. I need to find a transport trucker. I don't have big leverage, so I pay the maximum for that. Then I have to come bring it, unload, 40,000 rupees for the loading, unloading charges, put on a train, 40,000, and it's killing the industry, right? I'm looking for somebody to facilitate this who will help us get all these things, take advantage of all the new things what government is talking about, and proposing something which is going to happen 5 years later now, right? Otherwise, what would happen is we all keep waiting for the incremental evolution, and the evolution will keep on happening every time, or it will never happen. So, which is what I think is the need of the hour. It's going to be open. The customer doesn't differentiate between one product and the other product. He wants everything, as Shadi said, yes.
Thanks, Rashid. I think that was my next, drift in this conversation. While we're talking about, D2C, credit to the customers, there's a cost involved. At the same time, there are many solutions that we really haven't seen, are really happening in this industry, and the way the customer gets delivered, large-scale products and consolidation. So, but the government has been working on this for the last couple of years now and trying to implement. I think one of the last panelists, they did mention about multimodal parks coming up. So here, the way I look at it, from your take, is that we should have a system by which, say, if I want to move 10,000 tons or 500 tons of material, I shouldn't be worried about the mode of transport. I should just look at, this is 5,000 tons, has to go from, say, Delhi to Bangalore. I don't care what mode you take it to, from here to there. These are my terms and conditions. So do you think that that's something which is really, kind of happening in this industry, Mayur, in terms of the multimodal movement of goods?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question, because there's a lot of talk about multimodal and intermodal sort of supply chain, and how does it work. And let me tell you that that we at JK Cement are not only trying to deliver our goods on time, but also we're trying to do it in a sustainable way. And when I talk about in a sustainable way, it's about because you've got three ways of transportation, which is your road, rail, and sea, which predominantly we use. So sea route is considered the greenest way because you have got low carbon emissions and all. But when you come to the railways, then it's another one which is the most efficient as compared to the road transport. So what we have done, we have got our own private freight terminals at both of our plants which are in India. And we've got one plant in Dubai as well. So what we do, that from these private freight terminals, we supply our material through a multi-modal and intermodal, both sort of ways to the various parts of the country. So just to give you an example, that from my plant in Goyal, which is in Rajasthan, I load my material on railways, okay, and then it goes from Goyal by railways to Mundra port. From there, it is loaded into the vessels, which are your inland waterways, and from there, it goes to down south. From down south, it is again offloaded from my vessels, loaded onto trailers, and go to my warehouses in down south area. Apart from that, when we also talk about having our toll manufacturing units in say, northeast part of the country or some other part of the country, we do a club loading, wherein, as you were talking about finding some synergies, so we have got material from other players also coming in at our own freight terminal. We do a consolidated load from there. So suppose I have to ship, say, 40 containers, and I'm supposed getting 40 containers from somebody else. So we just make a club load and we supply from our private freight terminal. We charge some sort of a charges for that because there's a usage charge which is there. Apart from that, we've also done certain arrangements with Encore, Adani, and say other places of the world, where we do a sort of milk routing for the railways. Okay, this is a very unique concept which we started. So suppose my material is coming from say Goyal to this place, what is called Muradnagar or Modinagar. So in between there's a terminal called Rewari. So we do a 2-drop there. So my material comes to Rewari and then goes to Modinagar. Okay. Similarly, if I have to ship my material to say Agra, I can have two sort of ways, which is I can do a hop at Jaipur and then go to Agra. Then again I can do a hop at Goyal and then go to Agra. So these are certain ways and means by which we are trying to do multi-modal, intermodal, both sort of things together. And with the new logistics policy coming in and government also trying to do this Gati Shakti and all, because I was speaking to railway officials and all, in 2 months back we had a session wherein some railway key members were also part of my panel, and they were trying to tell us that while the focus of the government was earlier only on the bulk loading, but now government has also come up with some solution that how do you get into small loads, because that's a big market in the country and that has been untouched as of now. So they're trying to leverage railways for that also. And I think Amazon has recently done some sort of ties with Indian Railways where they're trying to do some sort of, take some leverage. So this is how we have been doing some intermodal, multimodal, those sort of transportation for our. But as we talk about, there are certain challenges also. Because you don't have very established players into this. And sometimes when you do a sort of multimodal transport and when your product is being transported into different modes of transportation. So you keep changing, or sometimes you have to, you can offload your material in between and then you have to reload into some other things. So there are certain traceability issues as well, okay, which is a challenge as of now. But I hope the way industry is evolving and the way we are growing up in terms of this cyber sort of you can say ecosystem, I think things will change soon. And we look forward that by end of this year, our company will have 70% rail coefficient. That's how we are trying to give back to the society also and make it sustainable.
I know that was very interesting models that you have talked about. I think we should have a separate session of yours to have a case study as to what is kind of a multimodal transport all about. Coming to traceability part of it, I think there's also a governmental portal called ULIP, which they're trying to promote, very unified logistics interface portal, by which one can actually try to link up the different modes. So that's all, where the government interface is really happening, and I think the last yesterday's budget also talked about coastal waterways, investment in the same, and as well as DFC has got a huge uptake in terms of the investment. That's a very interesting one when you said about the national logistics policy. So, because you just like to elaborate, in terms of today's scenario, where we're talking of multimodal, we're talking of efficiency, and we're talking of technology. How is NLP really going to help us out in delivering the goods to the customer in the fastest and the executed right first time?
So I think this national logistics policy which is rolled out last year, I think it is a good step. I would say, and India is moving in the right direction, but it is just a baby which has gone 3-4 months back, and it requires a lot of nurture and the focus from the government. And what I am assuming that I think at least we are going to have a mature system by 2030 or 2028. But yes, it should not be lost in transit, because we have seen that there are a lot of policies which government has launched in the past, and there was no focus on that. But yes, it is the right step in this direction, and even our market requires that. So I will tell you one thing. Government is in the right direction, but again, our expectation of our customers are changed a lot. So if you will see, the expectation of the customer is that they want deliveries within 15 minutes, what Rajsekhara is saying, and that depends on the behavior of the customer. So you have to come with some innovative ideas. I will share you one example, what we have done in Schneider. So we have a very lean warehousing footprint. We have 6 main warehouses, 11 field services warehouses, but our expectation, the data center, the banks, or the power unit, the industry which are there, their requirement is that if there is a breakdown, they want the service within 2 hours. So what we have done, we have created some kind of bikers who are having some bare minimum safety stocks in their bags. Those are supported by some mobile vans which are running in that particular area. If there is an IT hub in Bangalore, a van is stationed there with some I will say basic stocks. So these kind of things we have to think about, and we cannot work on a traditional way how we used to work 5-10 years back. Now we have to come with some kind of innovation, because the behavior of customer is changing very fast, and even post pandemic, I think the expectation is very high.
Absolutely. Only again from the logistics policy perspective, like one is of course the speed and the kind of infrastructure which is very big. What about the in terms of the policy which talks about the tech piece in this case? So do you think there's a huge push the government is doing on the tech piece, especially towards the delivery and
Yeah, so absolutely. So I think national logistics policy, although delayed, my own take is it's delayed by at least 2 years. Maybe had COVID not come in, maybe it would have happened 2 years back. But I think you look at the last 4-5 years, infrastructure is coming up. I think now the country is in a far better shape. Like I said before also, with the road infra coming up, right? Then with the multimodal parks which are coming up, the dedicated freight corridors which are getting operational every day. ULIP, of course, it helps. And the impetus on technology. So, I would just quote an example. Maybe 10 years before, or maybe 15 years before, getting a passport made was a 3-month process, right? I mean, you would seek an appointment would come in 1 month, and then you would appear for an appointment, and then you would wait. You would wait that a postman will come one day with your passport, and passport deliver. Whenever they used to deliver passport, they would take some token of happiness that you're going abroad and so on and so forth. So it's typically like that, right? I mean, the government intervened and they transitioned. They gave the contract to TCS, and today getting a passport in 10 days or in a week is a reality. You have online police verification. You don't have to. It's convenient basically. So similarly, with government putting impetus on technology, it's bound to come up leaps and bounces. And I think the traceability, the tracking of our parcels, our shipments is gonna be real time. There's gonna be a lot of clubbing. There's gonna be a lot of milk run. Different products, different companies together are gonna ship it from the multimodal parks. This is gonna be a reality. Maybe 3 years down the line, maybe 5 years down the line. But the infrastructure, of course, is coming up. There's a focus. Logistics and warehousing has been given has been made into an industry now. There's a secretary appointed from the government of India. I think it all goes well for us. And I, personally speaking, I'm proud of being a supply chain professional. And I think history is being created in our country today, and I'm proud to be living this moment with supply chain coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a huge tectonic changes which are happening in this country. I want to speak about the fact that there's going to be 3 centers of AI being set up, budget, and that's something which is really tectonic, I must say. In terms of technology impacts that the government of India really wants to come in. Not just the case of in terms of your supply chain, but in every aspect, I think the government of India is pushing the tech to the next level. Which brings me to the next thought process. We talk about customers and what they need, how we want to change our ways of delivery to the customers. But what's really also important is what are the things that the service provider, the logistics service provider should do to remain either focused on this particular journey and to upskill themselves in this journey, because that's a very critical piece in the whole value chain. So I would just like to ask Anirban that, what do you think are 2 or 3 things that the LSP should do here to upskill and upgrade themselves? Because the traditional lot is probably the bulk of this country, and the new age lot is probably upcoming. So what do you think are the 2 or 3 things that they should really do now so that we move in the right direction?
So I'll pick that word you said, upcoming. This upcoming is coming for, if not 10 years, it's 15 years for us. That the 3PL, organized 3PL, and why still this upcoming is still today also it's upcoming, because the cost. So if we essentially talk about that each one of us are having a PLN to manage. So what happened essentially, what we are realizing also that the traditional 3PL whom we speak about, who are still there with with most of the premium FMCG is still there with. The basic reason is that they are ensuring that what is needed, that free service. So what happens sometimes what we are realizing that with the upcoming or the latest 3PL organizations, their overheads are becoming our overheads. Because at the end of the day, it's coming to us only. So finding that genes that providing superior service at a reasonable cost. And obviously, we can understand that service comes at a cost. But that balancing many times is not happening, and rigidity on the P&L that as an organization we need this as a percentage. Without lesser than that we cannot work. Whereas that the traditional people who work on bulk, that I am maybe earning 2%, but I am earning 2% from 20 people. Versus the thought process that I have to earn 10%, and then eventually what is happening is that organization ends with 1 people. So that mind shift, if they take the risk, the upcoming people, if they start taking the risk and partnering that, okay, let's understand what is the cost parameter and how can we leverage each other. I think that is the genes where still we are stuck, and this upcoming still between upcoming. Hope that another couple of years this doesn't end up with upcoming.
That's always going to be the case, the traditional players are going to be probably the ones who are going to be more resilient as to, yeah, absolutely.
I think Anirban said rightly that I think this is on the traditional method, the people who are working there, and the cost is quite important there. But what I feel that in this industry, because if you will see, if you remove all the top 5 players who are there in the 3PL industry, yes, they are doing a lot of investment. They are investing in artificial intelligence, machine learning, and predictive analysis. They are taking care of that on the regular trainings for their people. But there are a lot of unorganized sector in the 3PL who are not focusing on this. So it is a time that those people have to invest into this. They have to work on the competency of their manpower also. Because otherwise what is going to happen by 2030 when we have a mature logistics policies across the country, these people are going to vanish out of the market. And these big players are going to eat into their business. So if we want to protect our 3PL partner, the unorganized partner, they have to invest right now.
So that's a very interesting point, because on this investment behind upgradation, I would not say just technology or manpower or whatever, but there has to be some upgradation which has to happen for the existing 3PLs.
I'd just like to add one point. I think LSPs need to innovate.
Right.
So we are all from industry here. The core strength of an Apollo Tyres is to manufacture tire. Core strength of Sleepwell is to manufacture mattresses. Now if our service providers are aware enough, they should do efficiency building for us. They should innovate. They should do route planning for us. They should look at whether on a particular route can I have scheduled deliveries. Rather than sending small loads every day, can I club? Where are the road network, where roads are better? Can I have multi-point deliveries? So I think it's the right time for all the service providers and 3PLs to innovate and do a deep study. Because the more efficiency they bring on table, a lot of cost pressures will get neutralized. That's my take. Thank you.
Absolutely, which means that basically when you look at these kind of terminologies called route planning, road planning, and then clubbing, etc., which would mean that they need to basically invest in technology and they need to invest in a skilled manpower to work on that. But at the same time, I think this is a very, very manpower intensive industry. We can't live away from that. That's a given fact. So, how do you think, Rajsekhara, is this whole industry, which is so intensive on manpower, going to shape up maybe over the next couple of years, as we on one side struggle with the traditional method of doing things, and then changing over to using the technology, whether it be in route planning, be it in warehouse automation, or in terms of delivery planning. How do you think this is going to really shape up, and what's going to impact on the manpower?
That's a big subject. So I'll just bring up 2 points, right? I think I totally agree with what you guys have said. There has to be innovation, okay, which takes us to different level. Who has to innovate, or bring together? We have to innovate. But at the same time, the bottom line has to be cost, right? In the end, we are a country where everything is cheap, very low cost, right? So if you copy paste a US model or a European model, it's going to take your costs up, right? Efficiencies have to lead to value for who? For the customer in the end, right? Whatever we say in the end, you take out the top, like 10%, 15% of the people, rest of the people are not there what European or American country can pay, right? The cost of the product is so small, even the NLP talks about it, right? 14% logistics cost, right? How are we going to bring it down if we keep on adding costs, right? There's a solution. Definitely technology is the right way to do, but then we have to have the right mindset for the technology. Why should technology be helpful, right? Manpower, right? Classic example, I'm sure all of us have experienced this. You go to a warehouse today where there's no WMS, there's a 20,000 square feet warehouse. Probably, depending on the company, you would have 500 to 2,000 SKUs. You ask the warehouse manager to implement a WMS. What will he tell you? No need, sir. My guy knows. How do you manage FIFO? No need, sir. My guy knows. Okay, the guy would work for the life in the same warehouse. Right? He started probably with a 10,000 rupees job 15 years back. He'll end up with a 40,000 rupees job 10 years later. That's a cost, right? But if you put a WMS, what would happen? Right? You are eliminating the variability of the person there, dependence on the person. Okay? We have to show that benefit. But today, if you go to the top 5 guys, what would they would tell you? They'll come with a big overhead structure. There's a guy who's sitting as a CEO in the US who expects a royalty from India to be paid. There's a guy who's sitting in the corporate office in Mumbai or Gurgaon, wherever. He'll say, okay, I'm going to buy a big car, so I need the profitability to come in. Yes, all that will come in, but how? I was having a chat with Manu today afternoon. We had the same debate. This is a constant topic what we have. You have to show us the value, right? You have to invest in what Varun had said, TCO approach. If somebody buffers it out for us in between, saying that, okay, there's a huge investment, there's a lot of ton of money, free money flowing around in the market, capital. I don't want to do as a manufacturer, that's not my core competence. If somebody can step in and say, okay, fine, don't worry, we'll put in money, you committed to stay with us, I will promise you, I will show you a benefit. At the end of 12 months, I'm super happy to do it. 12 months is not a big commitment for me to do, right? As long as I see the benefit. And a lot of things are not external, is internal, right? I'll give you examples. For example, if you take any company, how much would be the slow moving obsolete? 5, 8%, 10%? If you'll be surprised to see, if you go into the warehouse, walk into a wall-to-wall count, full wall-to-wall count, if it's not double, I'm willing to bet anything for that. Okay? You don't see that, you pay money for that. If you have technology, where you can pick the product by the manufacturing date, WMS, racking, MHEs, well, you wouldn't have that kind of thing that would have flown out of the system. That's a 20% warehousing cost that we can save, right? Another point what somebody mentioned, right? We have so many small 3PL players, right? Frankly, they're not 3PL players. Sorry to anyone who gets offended. They're labor service providers. Okay? What are they going to do? They're not going to exist. There are players in the country who are in the middle of the pack. They have to decide whether they want to invest in technology, make a 10 lakh square feet warehouse, which is going to be efficient, which is going to reduce your per unit cost, or they want to stay there and be obliterated by the top 5 guys when they come in. Okay? And the value we have to drive as the users, and don't mind us driving that because we are going to be cutthroat about it, right? We are not seeing the, when we see the P&L, we are not seeing the total spend that we are doing. We are looking at per unit cost. Okay? That's important. If you are able to translate your cost into per unit cost for me, and if there's a saving, super happy to partner. But that's what the problem is. When we sit down together on a table, it looks like it's a win-lose situation. One of us has to win, the other person has to lose. No, we can find a win-win situation. Okay, which is what we have to work together, right? I think that's a big change in the mindset of the entire industry to see how we can come to that table where we find win-win solutions and do it. And there is super value, right? 14% is not a small amount what we are spending on logistics supply chain today in the country. And that will change, whether we change it or somebody else changes it. So we better change it ourselves and not follow.
Fantastic, I think that's a very core point, which comes out of this discussion is that the fact that we are actually kind of in the cusp of a change. And whether we push ourselves to change, anybody in the value chain, or somebody else does it for us and we are pushed away. I think that's kind of a core theme that keeps me running around. One last point, if each one of us would like to make as to what do you think the next generation of supply chain professionals should look at, in terms of if they were to pick up this as a topic for their career. Yeah, sure.
So, as a back to the society, actually, I'm part of APMEA Institute of Supply Chain, where I regular faculty for supply chain and operation management. So I lead 200 aspirational supply chain professional. So every week. So three things perhaps. First of all, if you have to pick up 5 names, the top, like if we say IITs, like we are in black, like for NITs, there are top NITs. How many supply chain institute is there, essentially, like who are actually trying to educate the supply chain? So it's a hybrid. Somebody is coming with a computer background, somebody is coming with IT background, somebody is with a mechanical engineering background, and then you'll find that last couple of years there are a lot of executive programs called the IAMS are offering. But how many IAMS are offering a regular program on supply chain? It's not. So that means there is a sudden need and gap is there for a professional who are technically and mentally elevated, because this is a mental game also. So this supply chain fraternity, one more thing, that our day doesn't end at 6 o'clock. Generally, it's every hour the vehicle, the wheel is running. So that mindset, and then on top of that, few technical areas of supply chain and understand the basics. Because when my students ask that why I need to understand Excel. So there's one of the topic that I keep on telling them, that you have to learn Excel before you come out of the college. So this is why I need an Excel. There are AIs, every report should come on front. But for the last 10 years, my experience with heading the SNOP, you need one Excel. Whatever report you get, end of the day, it convert into your Excel AI, and then it's finally presented to your board that what is my SNOP. So if you are really looking for an SNOP, then one thing is that learn the basic. Second thing is that we should, and we were talking about NLP, essentially they are talking about that educating people. So that is something perhaps from the NLP side we can expect from government at some point of time, that have a couple of colleges for supply chain specific. And third thing is that it may sound a little cliche, but still proficiency is Excel. Without that, perhaps still we will struggle. This is my take on this subject.
Let me underline on this. Excel is a life skill. Okay, like it's a running, walking, eating, writing, it's a life skill. You cannot do away with any function you're in, right? I think one thing with supply chain, okay, having spent so much of time here, is that if you are looking for an exciting, sexy job, this is what it is, right? You never end the day. You will get a call at 11 o'clock in the night, and there's always a new problem to solve. If you are a problem solver, yes, this is the place to be. But you have to come with an open mindset, right? Whoever wants to start here, you will encounter problems what you have not anticipated, right? Keep an open mind, start with that, and that should help you to do well in supply chain. Excel is life.
I have a joke for that. I think there was some joke which was a meme. It said, 10th standard maths and then 12th standard maths, then engineering level maths. So everything went up into a skill. When they come to a job, it was again back to Excel. So that's how it is. So Excel is that basic.
Yeah, so my take is, it's a very, very interesting career line. It's a very, very practical career line. There was a time when supply chain was considered to be a tail function. Today, maybe post-pandemic, you will see supply chain driving a lot of things in an organization. In fact, at least in our company, right from what is to be produced, where to be produced, and what is to be delivered to the customer, everything is controlled by supply chain. I think that's a big one, right? So my take for younger generations or for people aspiring to build career in supply chain, I think it is a red hot cake at this point of time. There was a time when we would see a lot of CEOs coming from finance background. Then there was a decade when a lot of sales and marketing guys would graduate to become CEOs of the companies. I think next decade or so, you will see a lot of supply chain and operations guys graduating to CEO level. That's my take on that. Thank you.
So, if you will see, it depends from organization to organization also. So it depends what kind of HR policies you are having. So in Schneider, what we do, we usually follow a campus visit. We have subject matter experts in our organization who are visiting the campus, and we are mentoring the students over there. So, and apart from that, I will say internally in Schneider, we believe that we have a curriculum for the student which is online. So when we go to the campus, we offer them the e-learning what we are having. So it will give them a flavor that if they want to go for a higher studies in supply chain, because there are a lot of institutes, for example, NITI or IFT, they have some specialized supply chain courses, so they can adopt for that. But it is required that at least there should be some kind of mentoring either from if the people are visiting the campus, or there should be some mentoring within the campus for the people.
I think there's some time for the Q&A from the... Yeah, sure.
So, not really a question, just a comment on something that somebody said. So first, fantastic discussion. I'm talking specifically about training and skilling. Two things. Government of India started a Gati Shakti University in Gujarat, that's one. Secondly, your point is well taken that there is no ongoing program for. So Warehousing Association of India is starting a certification program. And we are collaborating with Institute of Management Ahmedabad, MDI, XLRI, IITs, right, on different aspects of this. And obviously, we also want advisors from the user group, right, because we have to align the kind of training and skill that is being trained to be absorbed by industry, right? So, in many parts of the world, especially US, you see there's a huge collaboration between industry and academics. In India, that's been a gap to some extent. So, at some point of time, when we are ready to go, we'd love to connect with you guys and see that there's an opportunity so that we can work together in the same ecosystem. Thanks very much.
Wonderful. Anyone else?
So my question is to Mr. Shonik. So you said that the 3PL and the LSP should evolve their processes and optimize things. So my take on this, on the client side and the brand should also have workshop with different LSPs and 3PLs every 3 months or 6 months, because you guys know your network, you guys know your customer base, you guys know where to keep the mother warehouse or the secondary warehouse or the distribution. The workshop will help us to evolve as a company rather than only a client and a vendor relationship. That's my take on that.
Absolutely. So, just to summarize, I think the need of the hour is to convert transactional relationships into strategic relationships.
Correct.
And that's where the trust develops. That's where, the LSP also develops. And that's where the brand also develops. I cannot progress by just thinking that I am a brand. I need to have all the ticks in the box and let the service provider lose. No. It has to be a strategic partnership between the brand as well as the LSP. That's how the progress will happen. Yeah.
My second question to Rajsekhara sir, you said that it has to be a win-win situation for both the LSPs. So my take on that is basically it should not be always the RFQ is on the floor, and it should be from the client side, it should be the cost directives. Which LSP or which 3PL is giving the less cost or how efficient it should be. It can be a value added, how differentiator is he from the market, or it can be a more price vendor to you, but a good sense of technical platform that he can provide you, or tech-based softwares or digitalization that it can help, which in reference which helps us to give us a space to breathe and also give you a optimization when we do the networking, when we start the operation.
Yes and no. Okay. Yes. We can choose somebody who's got technology, who's got the capabilities, processes, people, etc. But I cannot pay from my pocket. Very simple, right? That's a no. The reason is, if you have to bring the costs down, it has to be per unit economics. I might pay more for a warehouse. Today, we all are working in silos, right? If you're a warehouse service provider, you're looking at your warehouse. But there are cost inefficiencies that you see coming into the warehouse, going out of the out of the warehouse, right? If you put that on the table, together we can make it work, right? RFQ process. If you are able to smartly turn it around and say, look, I'm taking a TCO approach, right? Over 5 years, you will save this much of money. Let's go for it. Company would come and pay for it. If you ask me to pay 1 rupee extra than what it is, why would I pay? There has to be a benefit for the customer. I'm not doing it for myself, right? In the end, we are together in the marketplace fighting other competitive products, right? I need your help for me, right? So that's how we have to look at it. You have to be smart enough to turn it around on its head and say, yes, I'm going to charge you more on a ticket value, but look at your per unit cost. I will build in X amount of savings every year. I will commit to doing that. Once you do that, you will see things change, right? It's not a pure, simple cost bottom line discussion that will be.
It has to create value.
I agree, but what you guys also have to see.
Sorry, we are running out of time actually.
Let's take it offline. Yeah. I think just thank all my co-founders for a fantastic discussion, and thank you to the audience for giving a very patient or hearing after lunch. I went through the whole day discussion just like to sum it up. I think supply chain is at the cusp of change. It's a fantastic dynamic timing right now that we are all in. And I think the four factors that probably we all have to bank upon. Definitely number one is the working capital for all of us. The second one is, of course, the new age digital capital. So we've got to really leverage that. The third is, of course, the human capital, because I think that's going to be very critical next background. And lastly, but not the least, is the political capital, because I think the government is doing a fantastic thing, and we need to leverage that as well to grow in this country. And thank you so much for a fantastic discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone for sharing your thoughts and experiences. Charu, please come on the stage to give a token of appreciation to all the panelists.